There is a $75 serum sitting on a shelf at Nordstrom right now. The guy who buys it is in his mid-40s, successful, takes care of himself, and genuinely believes he is making the single most effective investment possible in the way his face ages. What the brand is counting on him never doing is pulling out his phone and looking up where that retinol came from. Because if he did, he would find the exact same active ingredient inside a $22 serum at CVS. Same molecule. Same industrial supplier. Same chemistry. Different box. Different story. Different price. Welcome to the men's anti-aging serum category. The fastest growing segment in men's grooming, and one of the most aggressively priced in all of skincare. Today I am ranking 5 serums that are taking advantage of men who finally decided to do something about aging, from the most cynical markup all the way down to number 1. The one that should make you genuinely angry. Then I am giving you 3 alternatives that are backed by real science, at prices that actually make sense. Stay until the end, because the number 1 alternative is going to change how you think about anti-aging for the rest of your life. Here is the science you need before we start. The 2 mechanisms driving visible facial aging are collagen degradation and accumulated oxidative damage. Collagen loss begins around age 25 and accelerates significantly after 40. The ingredient categories that address it are extremely well documented: retinoids, peptides, and antioxidant complexes. All 3 have decades of peer-reviewed clinical data. All 3 are manufactured by a small group of global suppliers. BASF in Germany and DSM in the Netherlands together supply retinol derivatives to approximately 83% of global skincare manufacturers. Sederma in France supplies the dominant peptide complexes used across every price tier from drugstore to prestige. The raw ingredient costs are public knowledge. What is not cheap is the matte aluminum packaging, the department store placement fee, the influencer budget, and the word advanced printed on the bottle. Let us get into the list. Number 5. Lumen Skin Anti-Wrinkle Serum. Around $30 for 1 ounce at lumin.com. $30 per ounce. Lumen built a genuinely clever business model. Target men who never bought skincare before, make it look sleek, and ship it in a starter kit that feels premium. The anti-wrinkle serum formula is built around vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, and pomegranate extract. Vitamin C is a legitimate antioxidant with decades of clinical backing. Hyaluronic acid is one of the most commodity-produced cosmetic ingredients on Earth. Global fermentation output runs in the thousands of metric tons annually, with wholesale cost under $50 per kilogram. Here is the critical problem. Lumen does not disclose the concentration of vitamin C in this formula. That omission is not accidental. LASCORB IC acid must be formulated at a minimum of 10% concentration and stabilized below pH 3.5 to produce measurable antioxidant benefit in the dermis. Established by Duke University patent research in the 1990s. Without a disclosed concentration, you have no way of knowing whether you are getting a clinically active dose or a marketing trace. You are paying $30 an ounce for a formula that tells a good story and proves nothing on the label. Number 4. Lab Series Skincare for Men Power Serum, around $75 for 1 ounce at Nordstrom. $75 per ounce. Lab Series is owned by Estée Lauder, launched as the first standalone men's prestige skincare brand in 1987. The Power Serum contains a peptide blend. Specifically palmitoyl hexapeptide Tide and palmitoyl tetrapeptide 7, both sourced from Sederma in France. Real peptides. The Sederma datasheet for palmitoyl tetrapeptide 7 shows a 47% reduction in IL-6 secretion, an inflammatory cytokine linked to collagen breakdown under lab conditions. Legitimate biochemistry. Here is the problem. The formula also contains dimethicone and trisiloxane high on the ingredient list. These are silicone slip agents that create a smooth, tight feeling on the skin immediately after application. That tactile sensation is not a clinical result. It is a sensory impression engineered to feel like efficacy. The proprietary language. LS Power V technology. Molecular age less complex. Describes ingredient combinations available to every formulator on Earth from the same Sederma and BASF catalogs. No published, peer-reviewed clinical trial specific to this formula exists. At $75 per ounce, you are funding Estee Lauder's Nordstrom floor placement, not exclusive biochemistry. Number 3. Kiehl's Age Defender Power Face Serum. $65 for 2.5 ounces at Kiehl's stores and KIEHLS.com. $26 per ounce. Acquired by L'Oreal in 2000, this serum is Kiehl's flagship men's anti-aging product. The active story centers on cypress extract and adenosine. Adenosine is a purine nucleoside with genuine clinical evidence. A 2016 study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology found statistically significant improvements in skin smoothness after 12 weeks of topical adenosine use at 0.1% concentration. Real ingredient, real data. Here is the problem. The adenosine concentration in this formula is undisclosed. Kiehl's does not confirm they hit the 0.1% threshold from the published study. The cypress extract is a botanical antioxidant with no peer-reviewed clinical trials measuring its performance in men's anti-aging applications. The formula also contains fragrance, in a leave-on product marketed as a serious anti-aging treatment. Fragrance in a leave-on serum is a sensitizer with zero anti-aging function. Undisclosed active concentrations plus fragrance in a clinical positioning undercut what could otherwise be a defensible formula. Number 2. Clinique for Men Face Serum. Around $50 for 1.6 ounces at Sephora and Ulta. $31 per ounce. Clinique was co-founded by a dermatologist in 1968, acquired by Estee Lauder in 1976, and built its entire reputation on the phrase allergy-tested, 100% fragrance-free. The men's face serum contains hyaluronic acid, glycerin, and botanical extracts. No retinol, no disclosed peptide complex, no vitamin C at a stated clinical concentration. This formula does not function as a clinically active anti-aging serum in any meaningful sense. It is a well-formulated hydrating serum with excellent tolerability that has been positioned as anti-aging, because that is what the men's premium serum shelf requires. Hyaluronic acid reduces the visible appearance of fine lines temporarily through surface hydration. That is real. But temporary surface hydration is not dermal remodeling. Glycerin is a humectant available in every drugstore moisturizer. At $31 per ounce, you are paying for the Clinique White Lab Coat story in the Sephora shopping bag. Number 1. Tej Hanley Super Serum. Around $60 for 0.5 ounces on their subscription platform. $120 per ounce. The highest per ounce price on this entire list. TJ Hanley built a brand on no-nonsense men's grooming. Direct, simple. Built for guys who don't have time to figure out skincare. The super serum contains retinol palmitate alongside peptides and hyaluronic acid. Retinol palmitate is a retinol ester that requires enzymatic conversion in the skin before it becomes retinoic acid, the active form. It is significantly less potent than pure retinol on a per-concentration basis. Clinical literature consistently shows pure retinol producing superior improvements in collagen density and wrinkle depth compared to retinol palmitate. Tej Hanley discloses neither the retinol palmitate concentration nor the peptide concentration. They present no published clinical trial specific to this formula, and they charge $120 per ounce for it. A subscription that includes this serum costs $300 to $400 annually for many men. That is not a grooming budget. That is a premium for the convenience of not thinking about it, while receiving an undisclosed, lower potency retinoid at one of the highest per ounce rates in men's grooming. This earns the number 1 spot because the gap between the promise and the science is the widest on this list. That is the problem list. Now here is what the evidence actually recommends. Alternative number 3. Serums Skin Renewing Retinol Serum. Around $17 for 1 ounce at Target, Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens. $17 per ounce. The formula contains encapsulated retinol. Not retinol palmitate, not an ester, actual retinol. In Serums' patented multivesicular emulsion system, protected by U.S. Patent 7,017,634. That delivery technology releases the retinol steadily over time rather than depositing it all at the surface on first contact, which is why retinol in cheaper formulas causes irritation. Retinol converts to retinoic acid in the dermis, binding to retinoid receptors that upregulate collagen synthesis and accelerate cellular turnover. The most clinically validated anti-aging pathway in non-prescription skincare. The encapsulation addresses the irritation barrier without diluting the active. 3 essential ceramides and niacinamide round out the formula. No proprietary language. Dermatologist developed. Encapsulated retinol at $17 an ounce from Walmart. That is not a compromise. That is the science at the right price. Alternative number 2. Roku Retinol Correction Deep Wrinkle Serum. Around $22 for 1 ounce at Walgreens, Target, and CVS. $22 per ounce. Roche was the first brand to bring retinol to the mass market in the early 1990s and has over 3 decades of clinical refinement on this specific formulation. The active is pure retinol, not a derivative, not an ester. Formulated with a mineral complex designed to reduce sensitization during the skin's adaptation period. A 12-week clinical study tracking users of this formula found a 44% reduction in the appearance of deep wrinkles, one of the strongest published outcomes for an over-the-counter retinol serum. That result has been replicated across multiple independent reviews. At $22 per ounce, you are paying for 30 years of documented, measurable outcomes. Not for packaging, not for a brand story, for the results published in the literature. Alternative number 1. The ordinary Argireline solution 10%. Around $9 for 1 ounce at Sephora, Ulta, and Target. $9 per ounce. Compare that to $120 per ounce for T.G. Hanley's Super Serum. Let that number sit for a moment. Argireline, acetyl hexapeptide 3, is a synthetic peptide shown in peer-reviewed studies to reduce the depth of expression-related wrinkles by inhibiting the SNARE protein complex responsible for repeated facial muscle contraction. A double-blind clinical study published in the International Journal of Cosmetic Science found a statistically significant 17% reduction in wrinkle depth after 30 days of twice-daily application at 10% concentration. The Ordinary puts exactly 10% in this bottle and prints it on the front label. That is not a marketing claim. It is the documented effective dose from the published literature. The peptide is manufactured by Lipotec in Spain, the same supplier used by premium brands charging 3 to 10 times the price for formulas containing this exact molecule. There is no proprietary version of acetyl hexapeptide 3. The molecule is the molecule. At $9 per ounce, this is the sharpest example on this list of evidence-based chemistry at the price it should cost. Here is the pattern. The actives doing real anti-aging work come from a small number of global manufacturers. They are not proprietary. Every brand on the problem list, at prices from $30 to $120 per ounce, sources from the same ingredient catalogs as the alternatives that cost a fraction of the price. What you pay for at Nordstrom and Sephora is distribution infrastructure, packaging, and a story designed to make a man in his 40s feel like he is doing something serious for his face. You do not need the story. You need the active ingredient at the right concentration with the data to back it up. That is the whole game. Hit subscribe. Next week I am going inside the men's moisturizer markup. And those numbers are even worse.